This is Sneaker Gears. My name is Levi, and welcome to another Performance Gears episode where today we're going to mix it up a little bit. Now, I did release the top 5 things you should know about the Jordan 34 before it is released, and I wanted to do an initial performance review, but I think you guys want to see the verses more. And let me know if I'm wrong, go in the comments. So as opposed to doing an initial review and then a full performance review, I'm just going to be doing some verses and comparisons because I try to do one video and compare it to multiple shoes. And I just think maybe it's too much content or it's not absorbed as much. But I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts. If you're watching this video for the first time or watching this channel for the first time, really appreciate you. We take a deep dive into the performance aspects of shoes, performance shoes, basketball shoes, some training, some running, hopefully very soon. And what I like to do is compare it, tell you who it's best for, how it ranks, and not just talking about the shoe, but what makes it the best, the worst, or whatever it is. So if you like the video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel as it really helps. And with that being said, I may do the one that I think is the most prevalent, but we're gonna do another one hopefully in the next day or two. But we're gonna do the Jordan 34 against the Jordan 29 with a little bit of the Jordan 28 sprinkled in. So we're talking about all-time great Jordans, and if you haven't followed the channel, up until this point, I claimed, and I stand by, the best performance Jordan of all time has been the Jordan Why Not 2. The cushion, the support, the traction, everything about this shoe is amazing. The decoupling, which we haven't seen since the 28, just overall, this has been the best performance Jordan that the brand has ever released, and it wasn't even a signature Jordan line. This was the Russell Westbrook line. Now, some of the faults that this shoe has, and this is very true, is one, it was a little bit heavy. Some people found it a little bit too much of a shoe. I mean, it has 3 different heel cups, for crying out loud. 2, they found it heavy, but also maybe a little bit clunky as far as you have so much support on this shoe, and unless you are running, going all out fast breaks, it wasn't as smooth as it could be. And then finally, it is slightly rounded. You can kind of tell the edges there. It's not as stable as a platform, and although they kind of have these teeth coming in and crisscross, which does something similar to the tendril did on the Jordan 29, it wasn't quite as stable as a lot of players like. Now, I enjoyed it, and that's where there's a difference between the shoes that I enjoy, and there's a difference between what's the best for the most players out there. But up until this point, this has been the best Jordan so far. We'll do a comparison with this. I don't know if we have to. You guys let me know your thoughts. But let's get back into the 34 and the 29, and it's starting with the fit. All right, the fit on these two is actually really good. I think the Jordan 29 has probably one of the best fitting performance basketball shoes almost ever made. Now, I don't know if it was reigning true, but they did say this was made in Italy. Okay, I don't know if they are made in Italy, but essentially this is a complete one-piece upper, which is crazy, and you can tell the stitch line right here where it's all put together. When you put this on, it feels like you're wearing a sock, and actually it has no business being on a basketball shoe. This you can literally flatten down to nothing. You would never guess that this will give you the ultimate support when the strength and structure you need in a basketball shoe, but ultimately it does a really good job. Now, it does that having an entire frame around the shoe, and you can see these plastic points coming all the way that really give it a lot of structure, similar to what they're doing in the Jordan 17, the LeBron 17, where it has that plastic structure to give it a little bit more rigidity and a little bit more torsional strength, as well as they added that tendril here to give it a little more balance, since obviously we weren't getting that from the upper, from something like the completely decoupled Jordan 28. I love the fit on the Jordan 28, but it was lacking a little bit of overall support. You didn't feel as, I guess, stable. So this wrapping around did give a little bit more stability, a little bit better lock-in, and ultimately this has been the lightest Jordan to date, and that's because of the upper. Now, onto the 34. So the 34, Jordan Brand has claimed, is the lightest Jordan. Now, I actually weighed them on my scale here, and this is a size 13, that's a size 13. I took out the insoles because those are different densities, different weights, just so we're comparing shoe to shoe, because we can always put the same insole on either pair. And this actually came out on my scale initially yesterday, read 15.3, and the Jordan 29, I think, was 14.9. I say yesterday because I moved the scale, went to a different area, and it went down by 0.1 ounces on both of them. So either way, we're looking at about 0.4 ounces at looking between these two. So the Jordan 29 is still lighter, but this is a huge but. This is going about it in a completely different way. So this is giving you, and we'll leak into kind of the support, which is the next step here, a giant heel cup. And you can see it kind of flowing in here, where it becomes the back half of the shoe is one section that holds you in, locks you in like crazy, as well as this eclipse plate is kind of flowing into that heel cup. So you have this entire back half of your foot and bottom of the foot really holding you in, and you have an upper that is essentially just a really loose, similar to the 29, nothing, just folds down. So one, these are both wide foot friendly, albeit you have to go up half a size. So it is wide foot friendly, but this, and you can tell where the toe box is a little bit narrow. So you have a wide toe box, you do have to go up. So I went with the 13, the same way I went with that, and the fit is just perfect. I have a little bit of space where my toe is kind of right here, not at the edge. So I have a little more room for my toes to breathe, my foot display, but it fits absolutely amazing. If you have a wide midfoot, there's no issues because this kind of folds and moves with you. If you have a high instep, it's a traditional tongue, and that goes for both pairs. These are amazing fitting shoes. This same thing, I did have to go up to a size 13 just because of how this went up and affected my midfoot. So even though I could wear it possibly casually at 12 in these, 12 and a half is really hard to find, but honestly the 13 of these fits just right. I would recommend going up half a size, just because you are getting a little bit more narrowness in the toe box, as well as I feel like it did ran just a little bit short, because a 13 on this does feel like a 12 and a half in some of my other shoes. So take that as you will, but it is very flexible. It does move with you. The fit on both of these is fantastic. Now onto the support, which I kind of cheated on already. The support on this is really what sets it apart from the 29. So if you guys are fans of the 29, there's going to be two very big differences, with the first being the support. This heel cup is really just a soft kind of nothing. You can almost push it down, so it doesn't have a lot of rigidity to it. Almost feels like just a thick cardboard or a thin plastic in there. It only goes up to right around there. You can see the edge right here if I push it down, which I don't want to do that. So that heel cup is not nearly as secure. With my body weight, and I'll show you a quick video here, on any kind of hard jab, while I'm playing, especially one-on-one, in a full court game, I'm not doing it as much, just because I do try to be more of a spot-up shooter. Or not even spot up shooter, but I'm running around, try to get open, or I'm slashing to the basket and cuts. So doing those hard jab, I'm not crossing people over as much. I'm trying to get more comfortable with that, but I am doing that one-on-one, 32, where I am a quicker player. And on those movements, my foot feels like it's about to leave the shoe. And you can see, here's the edge, and here's where it folds over. Hopefully you guys can take a look at that, where it just feels weird. It doesn't feel like it's quite containing me. Now that starts at the heel cup, but also has to do with the strength that's here or lack thereof. Now I'm 240 pounds. I'm a bigger player. The only big players that are wearing these in the pros were someone like, say, Greg Monroe, LaMarcus Aldridge. They weren't crossing people over. So at that point, it's okay. You don't need all that. The 34, they're marketing as kind of traditional Harley Davidson Jordan, a shoe for everybody. They have players, I mean, where you have Mike Conley as a point guard wearing this, as well as Zion Williamson, who's a freak of nature. And again, I don't know if the support is up to the level of Zion. When I first put these on, I did feel like, man, I don't know if this is going to support me. But as I've put the hours in and played in, it's held up surprising. On my first wear, I actually direct message Nightwing and said, hey, how's the containment been for you? Because for me, again, I had some worries, and he said, hey, I had the same thoughts my first play, and it hasn't let him down. I have a little over 8 hours of play into this, and obviously I'm going to put more in for a full review. And honestly, every time I put them on, they've held up more than I thought they would. So you have two issues with that, or reasons. You have one, I don't know if you can tell, there's a thin line of plastic right here, and maybe I'll get a better close-up of it and some B footage here. That plastic sits on top of this mesh plastic. Both don't really seem that strong. On top of, and you can see my finger here, and then it's on top of that blue thing, or that jade. That is supposed to be kind of a weave that is going to add additional strength, and that's all around the entire shoe here. So you have 1, 2, 3, and then not to mention, I'm gonna say the tongue kind of holds it in there a little bit. So you have 3 separate layers kind of aiding that containment, and all 3 are really thin and don't really seem like they're going to do much, but they do the job. And for those hard jabs, this little plastic piece here, much like these foam teeth on the KD12, and this is going to be the next review kind of teaser there, give you that additional added level of lockdown and containment, where when you jab hard, when you step back, your foot feels like it stays in the footbed, which is a huge part of that support and containment. Now, lacing these up, I have to lace them pretty tight. So the first probably 2 and then 3rd time, I had to lace it tighter and tighter until now I have a nice solid fit. So it took a few wears for me to get a fit that I enjoyed, but at the same time, this is one that I think a lot of players were able to literally put on the very first time with 0 break-in and just say, wow. Now again, we're talking a 0.4 ounce difference here, but I think it's well worth that for the added level of support they're getting. And honestly, now the cushion. So the Jordan 28 was the 2nd generation of our unlock zoom and flight plate technology. Took what we loved about the 28 and honed it in a little bit more. A lot of players thought it was better. I didn't. I liked the 28 more just because I felt it was way more bouncy, and it just felt like you had a spring underneath your foot. It was incredible. It pushed you forward, gave you a lot of bounce, but that came at a cost. These, I've had multiple pairs pop on me, and unfortunately, I have a pair that literally just popped on me this week during the testing. So this was not a reliable setup. One thing you'll notice right away as well is that heat seam that separates the bag, allows it to flex, obviously is going side to side here, which is a little weird. They made that a little bit more natural in this, where this is the actual flex point. So this, they used a smaller zoom bag, they used a little bit less PSI. They put the crease where it normally would fold, so this was substantially more durable. I really didn't find anybody or have heard of anybody who's had issues with it. That being said, at least for me and for my frame and body size, it was nowhere near as bouncy, but it was still really impressive, and I think a lot of players still really enjoyed it. This also had the flight plate technology, and as opposed to doing a full decoupling, which I did have some issues, plantar fasciitis, as far as your foot can't overextend, they gave the tendril here, which gave the shoe a little bit more balance. Again, players enjoyed that, as well as giving a little more better transition on running through, and just a little more protection for your foot where it doesn't overextend. So the cushioning on this, really nice. Not a step down, but a revised and a little bit less bouncy of what we got in the 28. So what has Jordan done for the 34? The first thing I want to point out is you are getting a completely flat base, which we have not seen on a Jordan shoe since probably the 27. So it's been a long time, guys. Every shoe has always had kind of a pronounced zoom bag coming out of the forefoot and or the heel. The 31s with that folding zoom kind of stuck out, so it was kind of imbalanced. All of them have had some issues or another where a few folks could perceive them as being imbalanced or kind of slippery. This, you're not going to have any issues. This is a flat, wide, stable base. Now, they didn't have to add this part in here. You can see kind of my finger sticking through there. They could have done what they did with the Jordan 24, which you can see right here. Same lip, same design. They just didn't fill it in. Now, the reason for that, essentially, I would argue, is just balance. Also, transition. and just being able to fine tune that and add a little bit more structural rigidity. Again, especially if someone like Zion Williamson is going to be playing this thing. Now, onto the cushion, because that's a little bit more of the support. The cushion, the heel zoom in this is using kind of a double stacked hex zoom that you can truly feel. This is way more comfortable than what they implemented in the Jordan 33. Like, by far, you can feel the heel zoom, you land on it, and honestly, it's a very similar setup to what we got here, where this is double stacked. Now, this isn't necessarily double stacked, I'm using the wrong word, it's just very thick. And I don't know how the exact measurements, hopefully we can find that out. The 4-foot zoom is using, and you can see it here, which is really cool, that little purple, you can see the glimmer of light right in there. So this is the first airbag you can see since the Jordan 16. I was proven wrong, so I said it was the Jordan 6, but the 16 apparently you can kind of see it. I never really thought you could, but it has pillars there, there's air. I was wrong, I apologize guys, but you can see the zoom air there. What that does is that gives the air unit a chance to expand and flex, which this didn't really do. It kind of caused some of the popping. Also, the zoom bag is actually in here. See that dark area? That's the zoom bag. You're looking right at it. So that's at 2 different spots. So it has areas for it to flex and move with your foot, which is going to protect the bag. It also has flex grooves in the zoom bag, and it's a large volume. I would say this is almost the evolution of what we got from the Kyrie 5 with its zoom turbo, kind of large volume 4-foot zoom unit, to the full-length zoom that we got on the KD12, to now going back to a 4-foot unit. But the way this Eclipse plate feels with the heel zoom and then that zoom, the transition is amazing. It's not full-length zoom by the KD12, but I want to say it's better for me. It doesn't make it better for everybody, but you're not missing the full-length zoom. Let's just put it that way. The transition is so smooth, it's seamless whether you have this setup or you have the full-length zoom setup on the KD12. It is unbelievable. Now, so we talked about transition, we talked about the heel zoom. How does that 4-foot zoom feel? It feels like these guys. What am I holding? This is the Jordan 28, one of the bounciest shoes ever. This is LeBron 16, what I argue is the best cushion ever released on the basketball shoe, or the best max cushion. So I want to clarify that. If you're looking for the most cushion you can get in the shoe that's bouncy, absorbs impact, you can wear as long as you want, flexes with you, this is phenomenal. You're getting that level of bounce and more so, and I think I have some footage here of me just jumping, just being completely shocked that you have a shoe that weighs substantially less than the Jordan 16, that's substantially more stable and more support than the Jordan 28, with an incredible level of bounce. This is something that started with the, I would say, the Kobe 8360, where we had a really lightweight shoe that was also somewhat of a max cushion setup, and that was more of a mushy cushion setup, even though it was max cushion. You have the KD12, that's relatively lightweight, but also a very high cushion setup, and this is just taking it to another level. This is something that is very lightweight, albeit not the lightest, okay? I'll give Jordan some slack on that, but they're doing that with an incredible level of support, an incredible level of cushion that, yeah, I'm gonna say it's better than the 29. Now, I played in them both yesterday, literally one on each foot, because the balance is actually really close there. So guys, I know you've told me, say, hey, you shouldn't do that because it, you know, depending on the height of the shoe, it's going to throw it off. And you're absolutely right. When I played with this on the same shoe as the LeBron 16, I probably could only do that for 5 to 10 minutes because there was such a height difference. I felt like my hip was going to get thrown out. But playing in both of these was a telling issue, and that's going to take me to the traction. The traction on the 29 continually gave me squeak. Doesn't mean it was sticking all the time, so it's almost kind of lying to you. This almost didn't squeak at all, but it held up at every single point. This reminds me a lot of how I felt about the KD12, where I don't know if this is the best cushion Jordan has done. I'm still going to give that to the 28, but it is very consistent, which is what I said about Herringbone. It has been solid on every court I played on. I played on 4 different courts so far. I still have another 2 courts I'm going to be playing this on, a little bit more time, so you guys will have an idea. And overall, I would say this is still a step up from the 29, even though the 29 is still really good. think the 28 was better, so the 29 was only a disappointment because it followed up one of the best tractions of all time. So that's not quite fair. But on any move, this was keeping up with me no matter what I was doing, stopping, sliding. I was doing some suicides for sprints, and ultimately this held up just a little better. The herringbone versus kind of that wave pattern just did a little bit better. Now you can argue this was a clear sole, which I did die. That's going to give a slight performance disadvantage versus just a solid traction version. That's absolutely true. I'm hoping to get a solid traction version fairly soon here, so maybe that'll give the leg up to the 29 or make it a little bit more even. But either way, I would say the traction on either one of these is really, really good, just short of Hall of Fame. This is, you can't go wrong with either one of these. I'm not going to call them the best ever. They're not shockingly great, but they're really, really good. Now, the overall difference, you have the 34 that has, I'm going to say at this point, for the pairs I have, better traction. Point here. You have cushion setup, it's better over here. You have support, it's better over here. You have fit, about equal. I'm gonna give it equal. And then you have just materials. Now the materials and the quality of the shoe, maybe the leg up is going to go to the 29 because it's such a refined and beautiful execution of what they're trying to go for. I have to give it a leg up. This is purely performance based, and all the little trims here around the shoe, and I'm sorry, I'm not like Seth Fowler giving you complete detail on the visuals. Everything's pretty cheap and thin. The padding, there's nothing fancy about it. This is taking a very kind of Vaporfly approach, if you follow Nike, where everything is very high performance and everything has a purpose. It's not about putting leather or suede or something fancy on the shoe. If it doesn't work, it's not on this shoe. And even then, if they wanted to do an SE or a playoff version, a lot of these little things, they can take off to lose weight. Any of these fancy, like, I could care less about it, but I know a lot of you guys do. The 3M behind here, they could actually cut out, I think, another ounce or so. And just getting through there just because they wanted to put more detail into the shoe. But with that being said, I appreciate that they did it because this is still a special shoe. This is still a $180 shoe. You're spending a lot of money. You want to get something not just for performance, but something that's unique, that's special. Now, just wearing this shoe is a little bit different. This, with that flight plate system, you feel a little push off as far as it's propelling you forward. It's just slight. It's not as big as the 28. And I think they did it on purpose. So this has a little more off-court feel as well. This is pushing you forward. You feel it walking down the court where you almost want to start doing a little bit of jog. You feel it at full sprint. You feel it when you're about to jump. It's propelling you. It is unbelievable. And this is very quintessentially the basketball cousin to what the Nike Vaporfly is, where you have something that's pushing you forward, that's incredibly bouncy. The only thing missing from this is if they added that ZoomX foam. Honestly, that's gonna be fire if they ever do that in a basketball shoe. I'm sure there's reasons why they haven't. One, durability, one, stability, but two, how it would be implemented are a number of things. But that ZoomX foam is something different they're using on the running line. But other than that, the lightweight upper, the propulsion you're getting from that flight plate, the lightweight feeling of the shoe, the bounce you're getting from Zoom versus Zoom X is all really a basketball version of the Zoom X. And honestly, guys, if this was your favorite Jordan shoe, and honestly, up until this point, I was with you guys outside of the Why Not 2. The Why Not 2 is the highest performing Jordan. This, even over the Why Not 2, we're taking a step down from the support, which I don't think it needs all of that. Outside the support level, and we're not getting any rounded edges, which I like having personally, just because I do feel a little bit quicker. But honestly, because it's lighter, because the support is getting taken down just a little bit, that stability, all those pros outweighed, I think, that single two factors of losing that support and losing that rounded edges, which I think a majority of players out there, both male, female, young or old, are going to be able to really enjoy this. So we have a legit contender for Shoe of the Year along with your KD12. If you guys want to see this, comment, subscribe, thumbs up. That's going to be the next video coming out. I'm going to put a little more hours into these guys, make sure I give you a thorough breakdown. But as far as the 34 versus the 29, 28, I'm sorry for all the lovers of the 28, 29 out there, but the Jordan 34 just took the cake. This shoe is unbelievable. I have a quick rating that I always feel where it's, I wish I didn't even buy it. I try to return it, which happens sometimes. I'm glad I have the shoe, or as DJ Khaled says, another one. This is definitely one I'm going to have to get another one on because there is nothing else like it on the market. Yeah, I've been impressed. So yeah, this is possibly an initial performance review, but this is also a breakdown. We'll have a full performance review along with a comparison to the KD12, along with any questions you guys may have. And I think the last question, I'll do a shout out I've seen on Instagram, was what are these hoops for right here on the top? And the only thing I can think of is to help pull the shoe on, but honestly, you're grabbing the tongue, so that's a little bit weird. The thing I would say is from the Jordan 4, these things, I guess, are for added support, but I know a lot of you guys actually don't put it on and you can just use it. It reminded me of that, just having this extra thing on top, and maybe I'm off, you guys. If I'm wrong on that, okay, design-wise, I'm wrong. But other than that, it's not anything really useful. I thought maybe it was for the laces, but you can see how little lace I have. I don't have enough lace to cross through again. And lastly, the loop in the back, the pull tab, you can't really get your finger in it. This is really useless. So I wish they would have made it a little bit bigger. And same thing, I guess you can go like this, but then I don't know if this is supposed to stay up, you can pull with that. A little bit weird. So for those who had a question on what are these two little hoops for, honestly, when I tell you they can save another ounce or so, that would be one of it, where I'm potentially tempted to cut these off, especially if I get another two pairs, so I have 3 total. I'll probably be cutting them off because there's no value to that. Guys, girls, all my athletes out there, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. I really appreciate you guys. Put a lot of time and effort and our hard-earned money into it. One thing I wanted to give a shout out, the Jordan 29, as far as the cushion, I really could not enjoy it nearly as much unless I was using our Velocity insoles. With our Velocity insoles, it made the cushion on the 29 on par with the 34, which is pretty shocking considering this is 5 years older. Without it, it wasn't even a competition. The 34 is way better. Those Velocity insoles add a huge level of bounce and energy return like nothing else in the market. If you want to support the channel, go ahead and pick yourself up a pair. We are selling out of a few sizes, so if you have any concerns or you're worried about it, please order now. If you are international, you can buy them off our eBay store, which is having international shipping. And as far as the videos, guys, really appreciate you guys. I do want to do the LeBron 17, but honestly, it is $200. So I'm thinking of opening a Patreon if you guys think that's something I should do. This is our hard-earned money for the channel, so I'd love to do it and give you guys a better view, but I just need that support, and I'll continue doing what I can. As always, really appreciate you guys. This is Levi Sneaker Gears, and I'll see you guys soon.